Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Globally, only a tiny fraction of people, we're talking maybe 16%, actually know how to use AI effectively to really boost their productivity. You've probably played around with some of these tools, maybe felt a little confused by the constant alphabet soup of jargon, or just wondered if you're actually getting the most out of them. Well, today, we are going to change all of that. We're going to take you from being a casual, maybe slightly frustrated user to a highly confident AI power user. Okay, let's quickly run through our agenda today. We're going to decode the AI landscape, figure out how AI actually learns, establish some serious guardrails around Gen AI risks, build the perfect prompt framework, and finally, dive into real-world AI applications. Starting right off with Section 1, Decoding the AI Landscape. We hear terms like AI, machine learning, and deep learning thrown around all the time, right? Sometimes literally in the exact same sentence. But they're actually distinct layers. Artificial intelligence? That's the big one. Just like physics is an entire field of study, AI is the massive overarching umbrella of computer science. It's focused on giving machines human-like reasoning and perception capabilities. Basically, it encompasses every single thing we're going to talk about today. Now, if we step down just one level, much like how thermodynamics is a subfield of physics, we find machine learning. This is simply a subfield that uses massive, and I mean massive amounts of input data to train a model to make predictions. And the crazy part? It does this entirely without explicit line-by-line human programming. And going even deeper inside that machine learning bubble, we get to deep learning. This actually mimics the human brain's neural networks. And nestled right within that space is generative AI. These are the models that use those learned patterns to create entirely new, totally original content. The famous large language models like ChatGPT or Google Gemini, they sit right at this brilliant intersection. Moving right along to Section 2, How AI Actually Learns. So we know these systems need data, but how we feed them that data is everything. Think of supervised learning as, well, it's like teaching a toddler with flashcards. You give a machine clearly labeled photos telling it, hey, this is a cat and this is a dog. It learns those labels and predicts future images. Unsupervised learning, on the other hand, is just handing over a giant pile of raw, unlabeled data and asking the AI to find its own natural groupings. It's like feeding it a massive spreadsheet of customer data and letting it figure out all on its own that high income, high spending customers naturally form a specific segment. Now, here's where it gets really interesting: understanding what the model actually does with that learning. A discriminative model simply predicts and classifies. It looks at an email and flags it as spam, or it looks at a credit card transaction and flags it as fraud. But a generative model, it goes a massive step further. It takes the patterns it learned from its training data and can write a completely new essay or generate a brand new image, all based on those underlying patterns. And that brings us to large language models, or LLMs. We really have to talk about pre-training versus fine-tuning here. Just like training a dog, these massive models are pre-trained on basic language first. It's the equivalent of teaching them sit and stay by feeding them an unbelievable amount of internet text. But to make them truly useful for a specific industry, they're then fine-tuned with highly specific data to become total specialists. It's exactly like taking that same basic dog and training it to become an elite police dog or a highly skilled guide dog for healthcare or finance. Which brings us to a very important Section 3, Gen AI risks and hallucinations. Before we go any further, we really need to set up some guardrails. It is absolutely vital to remember that AI is not a thinking, reasoning being like you or me. When it gives you an output, that response comes from three distinct places: the massive data set it was originally trained on, the specific user inputs you are feeding it in that exact moment, and its mathematical ability to recognize and continue patterns. Because these models learn from what we feed them, what you put in can literally become part of the machine's permanent knowledge base. If you feed it trade secrets, yeah, that can result in massive data leaks. Remember when those employees at Samsung uploaded proprietary semiconductor meeting transcripts into a public AI just to generate some quick meeting minutes? That highly confidential data essentially leaked straight into the public model. Not exactly a great day at the office. And because AI relies on pattern continuation, it can just make things up if it fits a learned pattern. Take this terrifying example. An AI was asked to write a news article about an injured motorsports driver named Johnny. The AI confidently wrote, "The family is expected to release Johnny's obituary." The problem? Johnny was injured, sure, but he was very much alive. The AI simply recognized a pattern that articles about bad motorsports crashes often end with obituaries, so it completely hallucinated that detail. This perfectly illustrates why you must never, ever trust AI pattern matching without double-checking the facts. All right, let's pivot to section 4, the perfect prompt framework. The absolute first rule of prompting: you've got to realize you aren't talking to a human. I know it feels like it, but AI doesn't actually understand English text. It processes your input by breaking words down into numerical fragments called tokens. So the word playing might actually become two tokens for the AI, play and ing. This is exactly why a poorly structured, vague prompt is always going to give you absolute garbage results. You have to be incredibly precise to guide those mathematical token predictions. So how do we avoid that garbage output? You use this foolproof 5-step framework. 1. Give it a role. Literally tell it to act like a senior marketing manager. 2. Provide context. Explain why you're doing this. 3. Define the task explicitly. 4. Set constraints. Tell it what not to do, like, hey, avoid corporate jargon. And 5. Specify the format and audience. Tell it you want a bulleted email aimed at stressed out sales reps. I promise you, using this structure changes everything. Finally, we arrive at section 5, real-world AI applications. Look, not all AI tools are created equal. ChatGPT, it's the original generalist. Our sources actually describe it as an eager golden retriever, just always waiting to please you and tell you you're doing great. But if you want a tool that will critically analyze your requests and actually push back, Claude is highly technical and critical. Perplexity acts as your ultimate web researcher, actively scouring the web for citations. Microsoft Copilot leans heavily into enterprise security, and Google Gemini is fantastic for its ecosystem integration and image generation. Beyond just the big brand names, you're going to encounter these models in 3 main ways. First, standalone tools. These are the websites you visit specifically to use AI, like ChatGPT or Claude. Second, integrated tools, where the AI is baked right into the apps you already use every single day, like Microsoft Copilot, living directly inside your Excel spreadsheets. And third, customized tools. Think of things like Bloomberg GPT, which is an LLM fine-tuned specifically with massive financial data sets just for Wall Street professionals. So we've covered the whole shebang: the overarching landscape, exactly how the models learn, the critical risks to watch out for, the perfect prompt structure, and your modern toolkit. Now, the only question left is how you're going to apply this. Are you going to stick to basic, frustrating interactions, or will you take this framework and become an unstoppable AI power user? The blueprint is right there in front of you. The choice is yours. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer.